desperate moments. The speeds here are dramatic.
And he's head and shoulders above this entire field. There's a crash right in the middle of the peloton. They've gone down at 60k an hour. They will not catch him.
This is a superb performance. First ever stage win by a Belgian cyclist in the Tour Down Under. Graham Brown gets the stage win. Andre Greipel hits it on the line. What an incredible sprint. Gerrans, he's got it. There is a reaction coming in the peloton. Pops out from the inside, takes it on the line. Look at the crowd now as they spot the rainbow jersey. Totally inspired. A battle of the men who dominated this race with another show of enormous strength. He wins again. That was brilliant.
Richie Port is on the loose.
He says, no, this is my climb, it's my day, and I'm going to take it.
It almost feels like summer. Ladies and gentlemen, if everyone could come close, nice and intimate, that would be lovely. And welcome to the official event launch of the 2018 Santos Tour Down Under. What a race. Incredible. Hard to believe that next year will be 20 years. So this morning we're going to have a little bit of a look back. We're going to celebrate the present and look to the future with Mike Turter, very soon the race director. I'm Tim Gilbert from Channel 9 and the Today Show, and it's a real treat to be back in Adelaide, of course. I love this place. It's like a second home. We did the Today Show down at Bocelli's this morning, and unfortunately I just missed the big breakfast, but that happens. Fading away to a block of flats, as you can imagine. Look, Santos Tour Down Under, it is in the calendar in January every year. This place becomes a festival of sport, a festival of cycling, and it's not just the city of Adelaide, but it's all the beauty around South Australia, and it's just extraordinary to have a look. I had a bit of a chat with Mike to get a sneak peek at what's going on next year, and it just looks unbelievable. We have some very important guests here today. I'd like to welcome the Honourable Leon Bignell, Minister for Tourism, Susan Close, MP, Joe Collins, Fiona Healy and John Irving, South Australian Tourism Commission, Rodney Harricks, Chief Executive Officer of South Australian Tourism Commission, Deputy Lord Mayor, Adelaide City Council, Sandy Verschoor, Angus Jaffrey representing Santos today, and thank you for having us here. And great to see the sponsorship going on for another couple of years of Santos. Assistant Commissioner, South Australia Police, Scott Duval, Nick Stanley, Acting Director of Operations, CFS, Leanne Grantham, Board Member, Cycling Australia. And we have some great sponsors. Events like this cannot take place without the wonderful commercial support of sponsors, and the Santos Tour Down Under has exactly that. So Bupa, City of Adelaide, Hilton Adelaide, Motor Accident Commission, Singapore Airlines, the advertiser, University of South Australia, all our major corporate and supporting sponsors, mayors and representatives from all host councils. Great to speak to a few this morning. And last but not least, Australian cycling champion and legend and ambassador of the Santos Tour Down Under, Anna Mears. Can we get a round of applause for Anna? She is wearing a maroon scarf for State of Origin terms. That upsets me a bit, being a blue, but you are Anna Mears, so you get away with it. Also, my colleague Sean O'Brien, who runs the Channel 9 here in South Australia. Great to see you here, Sean, as well. Celebrating 20 years in 2018 of the Santos Tour Down Under. With no further ado, I'd like to call on the Honourable Leon Bignell, Minister for Tourism, for his official welcome. Leon.
Thanks very much, Tim. Always good to have you back in Adelaide and showing off our wonderful city to a national audience. And I'd like to thank Channel 9 for the great coverage that they give this fantastic race. Now, we've been a family that's been together for nearly 20 years. 1999 was the first race that we had, and every year when people come together, sometimes we welcome new members of the family, and it's like a homecoming in Adelaide in January. And this past week we lost one of our members of the family, Terry Roberts, who has played such an important role as the traffic logistics manager, and I'd like to pass on my condolences to his family but also to the Tour Down Under family as well, because he played such an important role. I know he was a wingman to Mike Turner as the race director, and he'll be very sadly missed by all of us. I think we should next year move this event to about midnight, because you know, when you're trying to watch the Tour de France and you're getting to sleep at about 2 o'clock, and then you've got to come in. You know, Bob's had to come down from the Barossa. I've had to come up from McLaren Vale. We've got people here from the hills. I think maybe like a midnight function next year would work in well, and then we can sit back and watch the race. Or like if it's like last night, we can watch the boxing. It was like Mundine and Green all over again, but on 2 wheels. What a controversial finish that was, with our good friend Peter Sagan thrown out of the Tour de France, and Cav left laying on the ground, and Greipel, hasn't he got angry? He's just said, Peter is not my friend anymore. I mean, when the gorilla tells you that, you're in a spot of bother, I would have thought. So controversy overnight, but it all adds to the excitement and the great lead up to our 20th anniversary of this wonderful race. And you know, as someone who was there at the very start as a journalist, I remember going on radio with the ABC. It was in the afternoon slot, and I had to explain to people what cycling was all about, and how there was a race within a race and then another race within the race. And this woman rang up and she said, I don't know anything about cycling, but all I know is we need to get out there and support this race. We need to line the routes, otherwise those Victorians will pinch it off us like they did with the Grand Prix. And I think right from that very first event back in 1999, when we had 50,000 people down in the East End for that opening stage, that just blew Mike Turner away. You know, here's a guy who won a gold in 1984 at the LA Olympics. He's travelled the world around cycling, and to see the pride on his face that night, where he'd come up with an idea, the government of the day got in and backed him, but to see, he was like a proud father that night. And he's been with the race for all 19 editions so far. He's going to unveil soon the routes for the 20th edition, and it's a fantastic job that he's done. You know, he always throws something in there that's more exciting for the spectators, more challenging for the riders, and anyone who's doing the Booper, look out. It's he'll tell you what it is, but it's a bad finish unless you're into hills, and then it's probably a good challenge to the team that are around Mike, the events team, to Hitaf and everyone who's done such a good job in making this not just a bike race, but a wonderful festival. Thank you so much, because we know that, you know, people come here from interstate. Every year they want something new to do. If they bring their partners, they want something that their partners can do. If they bring their kids, they want something their kids can do. So I think the team in events have done a tremendous job in growing this to be one of the biggest festivals in Australian sport, certainly the biggest bike race outside of Europe, one where Christian Prudhomme, the head of the Tour de France, comes and says, this is Le Tour in January. You know, it is on that scale. Last year, or this year I should say, for the first time we cracked the 800,000 spectator mark. We had 840,000 people line the routes. Now, next year, for the 20th edition, we should aim to get 1 million people out there. We should really get the word out there that if you've ever been to a stage on any of the previous 19 tours, make sure you get along and watch another stage, because wouldn't that be magnificent if we could break the 1 million spectator mark. We had 43,000 people who came specifically to South Australia to watch the Tour Down Under, and you just have to look around and you see the Port Stephens Cycling Club, you see the Perth Cycling Club, all these people who come here year after year to be a part of this race and to enjoy the wonderful lifestyle that we have in South Australia. In the budget, a couple of weeks ago we put more money into tourism, because we've grown it in the past 4 years from $4.9 billion to $6.3 billion. That's a 30% increase. There's 5,000 more people employed in the visitor economy now than there was 4 years ago. So this is a growth area for us. It's an area the government's doubling down on, and this is the event that's the jewel in the crown of our visitor economy. It brings so many people in, and they have such a good time. And then the pictures that go out, not just around Australia, but around the world, thanks to the Nine Network, just really sell our wonderful state. Now, Mike's going to give you all of the routes, but I do want to say hello to Mayor Gary Johansson, who's here from the city of Port Adelaide Enfield, and that might give you a hint that we're going to go back to the port next year. And I remember as a journo being down at the port when in that very first race, and the Tour Down Under hasn't been back there since, and I think it's going to be a terrific addition to this 20th anniversary race. So Mike, well done for that tilt to the past, and there's a lot of new things in there as well. We're here obviously in Santos's head office, and I'd like to thank Santos for coming on board. Once again, you're a great sponsor, a great partner, and just looking around at people who you have working here, they sort of walking in, they've parked their bike and they're in their riding gear, because I think Santos has one of the highest ratios of people in South Australia who ride to work each day. There's a real ethos, a real culture that permeates through Santos, that it's not just about sponsoring this race, it's 12 months of the year, their involvement and their backing of cycling in South Australia. So Santos, thank you very much for coming on board once again. And it's not long now. January will be around with us soon enough, and I'm sure everyone's going to be very, very excited to see the world's best riders down here competing in the most beautiful state in Australia for the 20th anniversary Santos Tour Down Under. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. And you mentioned Port Adelaide, and that is part of the magic, isn't it, of the whole Santos Tour Down Under. And people that don't know South Australia and Adelaide have no idea at the majesty that's just around the corner at any turn. You only need to drive within 60 minutes of anywhere around Adelaide and you'll find a little bit of beauty, a little piece of magic, and that is the greatness of this wonderful state here in South Australia. But thank you to the Minister. Let's have a little bit of a sneak preview of the 2018 event television commercial to set the scene for next year's event. Scene, doesn't it? Richie Port, of course, winning last year, and the pocket rocket Caleb Ewan just dominating the sprint. So they'll be back in 2018 amongst a plethora of stars. But I'd now like to call on Angus Jaffrey, Executive Vice President of Strategy and Corporate for Santos, to say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming along. Yeah, thanks for coming early. I understand that a lot of you were up late last night. I'm quite impressed, actually. This is normally quite an ordinary-looking meeting room, and it doesn't have to scrub up nicely, and especially when you've got some nice food and so forth to have in the morning. Listen, we're really proud and really excited to continue our partnership with the Tour Down Under. We will be the partners. We will be the naming rights sponsors for the next 2 years. And that will make our relationship 9 years long. Since 2010, we've been naming rights sponsors. And during that time, we've really seen the race continue to grow into what it is today. And what is it today? It's not just a cycling event in South Australia. It's not just the premier event in Australia. It's a world-renowned race, a world-renowned competition. And when I met Mike about 6 months ago or so, he was explaining the sort of development of what it is today. And what really struck me was he said, the cyclists love it. The competitors love it here. They love the competition, and they love the way we treat them, and they love coming to South Australia. It is one of their favourite events on the annual calendar. So having that great event here in South Australia is just fantastic for the economy. I mean, like we hope that we do. Our company adds a lot to this state, economically and socially. This race also does the same. The great direct benefits that South Australia gets, during the race itself, when all the activity comes here, people come here, they spend the money, they experience the great time here. The great advertising. I mean, you just see we just seen some of the vision. If you're someone looking for somewhere to come on holiday, or someone even to come and live, and you see those great clips, you think, yep, that's a place I want to go. So fantastic benefits. The other great benefit is the way that this race brings the community together. Again, whether you're out in the streets or whether you're watching on TV, you can see the smiles on people's faces, you can see the crowds, you can feel the energy that this race brings to South Australia, and that has to be a fantastic thing for this state. So once again, we are really proud to continue our partnership, continue to be naming rights sponsors of the Santos Tour Down Under, and really I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you in the room for coming today, but also thank the South Australian Government and the South Australian Tourist Commission for their great stewardship of this race and working to make this race what it is today. And I'd like to thank Mike. I can't actually see him anywhere, but I'd like to thank Mike for his 20 years of dedication to turning it into what it is today. And what I really hope is that 2018, let's hit 1 million people. Let's make 2018 the best Santos Tour Down Under there has been yet, and let's hope it continues to grow in its greatness like it has done in the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks again to Santos. It really was fantastic when I saw that email come through yesterday with the media release of 2 more years for Santos. What a great relationship it is for a wonderful event. All right, enjoy the remainder of your breakfast, and very soon we will have that gold medalist from LA on the stage, the man that had the idea, build it and they will come. He started with the thought process, why don't we have this event? He thought he'd only get a few people. Boom, 40,000 turned up on night one. So Mike Turter, the race director, is going to be here to talk us through the 2018 edition, the 20th anniversary of the Santos Tour Down Under. Be back in a tick.
why I'm eating cake.
It's because we have 20 years Tour Down Under.
Happy birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy 20th birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy 20th birthday, Tour Down Under.
Happy 20th birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy birthday, Tour Down Under. Joyeux anniversaire au Tour Down Under.
Happy birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy birthday, Santos Tour Down Under.
Happy 20th birthday for the Tour Down Under. Congratulations.
Happy birthday, Tour Down Under.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things we're also all saying how much we love this event. One of the things I really, really enjoy is the friendships that I've made over the course of time, and I think that that is something that's right through all the people here. This event just brings people together and forms friendships. And just before I intro a mate of mine, who of course is the man that started this whole event, I do want to welcome the Commissioner of Police, Grant Stevens, here. Great to see you, and they do a fantastic job. And I know Mike will talk about the work the police do, but they do work these days in an environment which is changing, and they do a fantastic job. So thank you very much to all your team. But with no further ado, can we get a big round of applause for the race director, the gold medalist from LA, Mike Turter. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Yeah, no, we've been better. So
yeah. It's been a tough week. I know that. Can you, if we look at this event, could you believe what happened on that first night 20 years ago? You had the idea of doing it, and bang,
yeah, well,
came.
I've often said it was in the East End. It was stage one in those days, the People's Choice Classic, as we know it now, and there was a radio interview done, I don't know, an hour before the start, and they asked me, how many people do you reckon you'll get today? And I said, well, if we get 10 or 15,000, we'll be wrapped. I think the official police numbers were about 40,000.
Wow.
We had not enough security, not enough barriers, not enough of everything. And Terry and I shit ourselves. Because we knew that we had people sitting in the gutter on apex of corners, 10 deep. If we had a crash and someone ended up in the crowd, I would just pack up and go home. There it is there.
That's extraordinary. And to watch it grow, and we heard Leon say before 800,000, and it would be, look, it's well within range, isn't it, 1 million people? To think that there could possibly be 1 million people for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I mean, people question that, but you've got to think, 150 kilometre stage, and there's people from start to finish. When you start counting, it doesn't take long to start getting big numbers, over 150k. So the race from that very first night in '99 to what we've witnessed now, we knew that after that night that we're onto something here. And then the next day, the stage start, big crowd. Along the way, big crowd at the finish in Strathalbyn, big crowd at Norwood, big crowd at Glenelg, and it just kept going and going and going, just hadn't stopped.
Yeah, and it's like a big movie unfolding every year. All right, well, let's peel back the surface of 2018. The People's Choice Classic used to be part of the race. It's now that hors d'oeuvre, that's entree in to the Santos Tour Down Under.
Well, we're using the same circuit for the People's Choice next year as we did this year. It was a new circuit for us this year. It's 2.3 kilometres, which is a lot bigger than the other old one of 1,700 metres. So I think it worked well. It's a really fast circuit with good corners. It's just a great way to start the race and allow people to see the riders up close. So very fast event to kick off. Hopefully a nice balmy night on the Sunday night.
Yeah, it always is, isn't it? A beautiful night. People's Choice Classic, the Sunday night Adelaide Street Circuit. Everyone has the chance to catch their breath on Monday, and then it is stage one. First race on the UCI World Tour. Points, there's Mike Turter from yesterday. Look at him. That's his Top Gun shot.
That's Eric Zabel, won in the first year into Strathalbyn, won a cow.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? That went all around the world. The stage one, Port Adelaide. Now, also Leon spoke about Port Adelaide, and that was there in the very first race.
Yes, it was. We started at Black Diamond Corner down there, the old lighthouse. Massive crowd. We had a 24-kilometre neutral zone, if you believe it. back in those days. But because we're starting there this year and we're going back after 20 years, we've only got a neutral zone of 2 kilometres because we're going over both Jervois Bridge and the new bridge, and then on the Port Adelaide Expressway, which is great. And as you can see, we're going out up through One Tree Hill, Humbub Scrub for the Subaru Kingdom Mountain, going down through Kersbrook into Williamstown, and then we're going to do this circuit 3 full times for the riders. Obviously, we remember back to this year, 40 plus degrees. The year before, 40 plus degrees. So we decided that they deserved another chance. The people of the Barossa, especially on the southern side there, they do a lot of work. They're a terrific organising committee. So it was only fair to hopefully get a good day for them and see what we can really do out there. So we're looking forward to it. It'll be a big sprint day, of course. Caleb Ewan won there last 2 times. He'll be wanting to do it again, I suspect.
Yeah, and we speak about some of the iconic beauty of Adelaide and South Australia. Port Adelaide, I think a lot of people beyond the boundaries of South Australia, a lot of people don't really know Port Adelaide beyond the football team, but it's such a great and historic part of the city, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, with the football team, of course, but it was a major port in Adelaide in the old days. I grew up in the area, so I know it very well. I used to live at Alberton, so I'm a Port Adelaide boy from way back.
All right, stage 2, Unley to Stirling. Unley is a real centrepiece of the Santos Tour Down Under, with so much celebration there, and then Stirling, this beautiful, beautiful part of the hills.
Well, they both worked so well on the race. I think it was fitting to have them both back for the 20th edition. There'll be massive crowds there, as there always is. Stirling, the circuit of Stirling has sort of provided the race the unknown because of the uphill finish. It's a difficult circuit. It's more suited to the all-rounders, but we've seen Gripe win there in the past, so anything can happen on that day. So we're looking forward to that day. As you can see, we're sort of going to start. We're going to come down King William Street. We're going to go down Melbourne Street in the neutral. Then we're going up Tea Tree Gully Hill for the Subaru Kingdom Mountain, down through Hahndorf, Mount Barker, and then onto the circuit, which we'll do three complete times. Doing it 3 times, we've learned in the past, is sufficient enough to really take the edge off the riders and to open it up at the sprint finish because of that uphill drag to the line. So, if you're in a good position, you've got good legs, you can win. So that'll be a really interesting day, as most days are. But Stirling, the circuit, there'll be a massive crowd up there, and it'll be a great day. One of the great things for our broadcast over the last little while is our ability to have that domestic coverage as well as the international coverage. So that whole Stirling scene, that whole al fresco scene, we can actually now paint that picture to everyone around the country. Yep, I think the feeling around the circuit of Stirling is unique, like other aspects of the race, and there's been many comments from a lot of well-credentialed people in cycling that say that the circuit up there would be a great place for a world championship. So, good pie shop in Stirling too. Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin are always there. Stage 3, 2 beautiful coastal parts of South Australia. One, of course, in the city in Glenelg. That's where we begin, and we always get thunderous amounts of people on to Victor Harbour. Glenelg is terrific. I mean, a massive crowd that's always there for the race to leave, and then we're going to head off. There's a change to this year's race for that stage, and it was Terry Roberts' decision and desire to have Penny's Hill in the race. You might know Penny's Hill is the circuit when we do Willunga, when we go down at 100 kilometres an hour. So Terry wanted it as a king of the mountain, going up, and it's a bloody hard climb. So it will be on the race, and a great tribute for Terry. But that race there, the climb comes early, so it won't be significant for the final, but it will be difficult for the riders early in the stage. But the circuits that we've created in Victor Harbour for the first time this year will, again, make a great spectacle for spectators because they'll see the race multiple times. And it will be a sprint day, but just the big group going around that 13k circuit of Victor Harbour along the beautiful coastline there is terrific. So. Oh yeah, and some amazing finishes. Even we go back 20 years to see Stuart O'Grady's win there because that was what set him up. He was in a long break and won into Victor Harbour, and that set the race up for him. And the gorilla in Victor Harbour. Well, he's run there 3 times. Yeah, he likes Andre likes Victor, so you never know. Interesting one, stage 4, because you've done something this time in stage 4, stage 5. They're GC days back to back. Yeah, that's correct. Never before in this race. So Terry and I wanted to not only challenge the Bupa Challenge riders, because in years gone by we've always designed a course for sprint riders on the Bupa Day. Always maybe in the back of our mind considering the Bupa Challenge, the local punters.
But this time they got Norton.
But this time Terry and I said stuff them.
This of course is Uradler, Norwood to Uradler, stage 4.
The significant thing here, Tim, is that the circuit is undulating, but the sting comes in the last 10k. So this is going to be a critical day, using Norton Summit for the first time as a Subaru King of the Mountain. We've never used it in that way before. We've gone over it, but never as a King of the Mountain. You tackle the climb about 10k from the finish in the new location of Uradler, but it doesn't stop when you get to the top. You go through the township of Norton Summit, you do a right-hand turn that kicks up again. It's going to be really tricky, that last part. And as you say, it's the first time in the history of this race that we've put 2 GC days back to back, because next day is Willunga. So the new finish location, the new climb of Norton Summit as a King of the Mountain, and of course a start in Norwood, which is always brilliant. I mean, big crowds. And the Bupa Challenge, so the whole combination, I think for the Bupa, it's either going to do one of two things: attract a record number because of the challenge of Norton Summit later in the day and the new location of Uradler, or we'll get the lowest participation of all time.
Oh, we're Australians. I'll go for the challenge. Put your hand up if you're doing the Bupa Challenge. Who's doing the Bupa? Yes. Just take some more water this time. Take some more water and have a hot bath with salts when you get down. And what about this? Look, from that spot, the Star of Greece, looking down, I just think it's one of the most beautiful parts of the world. It is our iconic stage. It's the Queen stage, McLaren Vale to Willunga Hill, stage 5. Look at that picture.
Contador and Sanchez. That's Contador's comeback race. He credits that victory as the most important moment in his career. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And that happened in Willunga. But this stage is iconic. We've seen so many great battles over the climb. Since we've changed it from the finish at Willunga to the top of the climb, it's just changed the whole face of the race. I mean, we all know now, everyone knows, you can win and lose the race on stage 5, and that's just the way we like it, because it's such a iconic day on the race.
It is, and it's one of the great days of Australian sport, and to be there is a real privilege. Like last year, to watch Richie do what he did again, but this time he went on to win.
Yeah, oh well, he's made it his own, hasn't he? That climb is just a brute. It is hard. Not long in terms of European standards, but at the end of a long stage, and also days racing before, and bearing in mind they're going to have Norton Summit the day before. So the whole day is going to be really interesting. But the circuit works so well. I mean, the beach circuit, as we call it, the bottom circuit there of 40k, the way that people dress up their residents and businesses to greet the race and have a party and just celebrate the day is just terrific. And then, of course, the circuits around Willunga for the Subaru King of the Mountain at the top of the final there is just, it's a brilliant day. The crowds are phenomenal.
And dress themselves up as well. There's some lunatics out there.
Yeah, plenty of them. Yeah.
We see cows and all sorts of animals. It's a real day of celebration. Then, of course, it is the sprint finish, the celebration. We're back in Adelaide to, and this is something, the Be Safe, Be Seen, stage 6. It's in so many races around the world. You come back to the city.
Always do come back to the main game, as I say. I mean, to return to the streets of Adelaide for the final is important. It's a great spectacle for the city, the circuit, up and down King William with the U-turn at Victoria Square at the Village, around the Oval, Adelaide Oval, up the Montefiore Hill. Is just, I think it's a brilliant circuit to showcase the city. And for the riders, they love it too, because it's a fast circuit. There's no tricky bends leading into the finish, and they get a good go at it for the sprinters to finish off the week.
We're at the home of Santos today. Hey, chocolate, talk about after my own heart. Yeah, I have to get some of that before I go. But Santos, how good is it to have them back on board? I mentioned it earlier. Sporting events, particularly of this magnitude, cannot exist unless you have commercial support.
No, well, I mean, it's brilliant to have a naming rights sponsor to commit as they have. Is just terrific, and we're thankful to them for it, because it's really important for the race. They've supported this event in and out of the event during the year brilliantly well. I mean, it's just terrific. So, and to be a South Australian company too, based here in Adelaide, is really important for us. I think it's just a great thing for the race moving forward. And you mentioned SAPOL, the commissioners here. No SAPOL, no race. Simple as that. I mean, their role in this race in the early years with Terry, and as he was a senior sergeant with the police, their role in the race is so important. It's brilliant. And then you have all the other people, you know, all the AMBOs and the emergency services and so on. So collectively, the number of people that put into the race to make it happen is enormous. And then councils, then all of our other sponsors too, you know, Singapore Airlines, and to get the riders here, the Hilton and so on. It's just collectively a terrific group of people that make it happen.
The SAPOL thing is a big thing. I don't want to put a dark patch on it, but the world's changed, isn't it? Because it's not just the access for riders and safe passage of people in and out, but you've got this other edge of humanity which wants to cause damage. So they've got to think about everything, particularly with big events like this.
We have to, because the nature of this event being public like it is, the other thing it challenges every day is you go to the open road. So we're not going to Adelaide Oval, closing the gate and being secure, playing on the Oval or the Velodrome. Our arena's new every day on the open road, apart from the circuit races. So that's the big challenge. And us working with SAPOL and coordinating point police, marshals, removal of road furniture, all of this sort of stuff creates a safe passage. And then we try to look after as best we can everyone on the race, all the spectators. So it's a, you know, I can tell you some stories, but how we got out of... I'm going to tell you one story.
Well, tell us a story. Wouldn't be a day without you telling us.
I'm going to tell it because it's...
I know, it's tough, mate. It's tough. Mike obviously was a great mate of Terry's, and we lost Terry on the weekend, and just to be here, I know, is very, very difficult. So, in his memory, I know you want to tell a yarn. There's so many yarns, obviously, in and around this tour, isn't it, that you could tell.
I'll tell you a story about Woodside. We're going, this is in the second year of the race. Terry is ahead of me in the race, and I'm before the first riders. And we're at Woodside, and Terry used to call me on the radio, and he had a bad habit of making me wait for the information, which really pissed me off. He would say, Mike...
Most mates are like that, aren't they?
He would say, Mike, are you there? Yes, Terry, yes, yes. Stand by. Oh, shit. So, comes back. Yeah, what's the problem, Terry? We got a problem, there's a horse loose. I said, well, that's all right, we'll just ride by. He said, no, mate, it's because it's coming towards me now. It's in a full gallop in the middle of the road, heading straight for it. And it's gone past Terry. Between me and Terry are 3 police motorcyclists. And 2 of them did their best to try to fend the thing off. And the last guy before my car did a real good job, got side on, but the horse hit his bike, broke his visor, broke his rear vision mirror, and just kept going. Before that happened, Terry was still a senior sergeant, and I said, Terry, shoot the bloody thing. But he didn't think that was a really good idea, but he did.
Sounds like Godfather now.
As a police officer, he had access to a weapon. I did ask him a couple of times if I could borrow that gun to just take care of a few problems on the race, but he sort of thought that wasn't a good idea either. Anyway, this thing's gone past me, and I've done the sign of the cross because we're cactus here, because this thing had eyes like dinner plates, and it was a yearling. Can you imagine, in a full gallop on the bitumen?
Sounds like you want some money on it.
Yeah. So as it went past, I looked, and it's mostly come to its senses, saw just a massive group of riders and cars and everything else, and it just veered to the left in a full gallop down the verge on the side of the road and missed the riders.
Unbelievable.
And we often spoke about that and laughed about it. Wasn't funny at the time, but that was just one thing that happened.
In hindsight. Look, mate, I know it's tough, and it's been great to have you here. Mike Turner, ladies, big round of applause. 20 years was his idea. Thanks, bud. Good to see you, Mike Turner. And of course, our thoughts and all our prayers are with the family and friends of Terry, and I know Leon mentioned that earlier. Such an integral part of this event, and he will be here in spirit for the remainder of the Santos Tour Down Under. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on Facebook as well, so hello to all those people on Facebook. Good morning. Hope we're looking well this morning after all waking up all night to watch the Tour de France. That's it, basically. That's our official part of the day. We're celebrating 20 years. We're not far away from January. January cannot wait to be back here for the Santos Tour Down Under, the 20th edition. Who will win? Will Caleb Ewan again dominate all the sprints? That we'll have to wait and see until January 2018. But I'd like to leave you now with some memories of 2017, which itself was a remarkable race. Have a good day.
Down below us then, everybody getting ready. It's a fair distance at this time of the year. There's the bell, 1 lap to go. Ewan goes for it now, and Sagan is taking him on, but Caleb Ewan has done it. The event of the year. The wheels never rest. Coming from the far right is Caleb Ewan. Ewan is unbeatable at the moment.
There's a crash right in the middle of the peloton. They've gone down at 60k an hour.
Caleb Ewan pops out from the inside, takes it on the line. Wheels in motion. Coming out of the back. This man is unstoppable. Wheels in motion. Spokes on the wheels. Every sense is missing. But look at that crowd.
Port is off the chain. They will not catch him.
This is a superb performance by Richie Port.
Richie Port is on the loose.
He is the champion of the Santos Tour Down Under elect. Ewan has now moved into 5th place. Sagan is taking him on again, up on the inside. He has done it. The ochre jersey has been won by Richie Port.